Welcome along, everybody. Game 3 of the Luna League. We are here with Team Asworth versus BBZ. Fan favorite. We are here with War Leader.
Hello.
Our man.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. All right. Immediately going into this draft. Lots of just aggression immediately on these bans. I'm just feeling with the speed of this. Yeah. No.
It's going quite fast.
Yeah. No. Taking away the LeBlanc from Red. I actually don't know that Red actually plays a lot of LeBlanc, so I'm interested to see that immediately from Asworth. And just with the speed of those bans, you feel like they've scouted this stuff out. Like just knowing exactly what they want to ban.
LeBlanc as a pick has had so much dominance within Helios and Luna this season that I'm not surprised if you just auto ban that blue one, get it out of there. No one wants to play against it. Just a good job.
Not to mention the prevalence that it's had, like just in pro play in general. It's just such a good 2v2 pick to pick up from that mid lane. It gives you so much agency in the early game. See that Ezreal going away, taken away from Tef. That's one of his comfort picks. I feel like he's quite strong on that pickup. And the Samira going away from Gua. See how Asworth wants to design this comp.
We know that Team Asworth is a very aggressive team, and Samira is a champion that can really facilitate that. So I'm not surprised to see BBZ take that away early.
Yeah, no, and just like a couple of almost like team dominant picks. Like, you know, we see like the team fight being taken away out of the Samira. We see the individual like shutdown taken away from Hisme on that Malzahar. It looks like they're gonna first round the Kai'Sa. That's very interesting for current patch. I don't feel like she's that dominant, but you know, Asworth is the team that wants to play aggressive. They're gonna want to go in, and I feel like, you know, that does kind of give away your composition a little bit. And I think that does open you up to Kog'Maw Lulu. Of course, that not being banned, but no, just going for the Aphelios pickup, leaving Tef to their devices.
Aphelios is another really strong hyper carry that I'm not surprised to see if you aren't brave enough to go for something as committal as a Kog'Maw Lulu, grabbing Aphelios and then a support like Braum that he
perfect
to protect him. It's a really good answer. I'm surprised to see the Kai'Sa first because we saw H-Block in the last game did a really good job bringing Kai'Sa out second after grabbing some solid engage that she can go on top of, that being the more important piece of it, because the Kai'Sa element to that is replaceable, even though she's maybe the ideal pairing for that. And we're going to see another Senna support.
Yeah, Paige just straight out of H-Block's book here, going for that Kai'Sa Senna bot lane. Now, it's interesting to see, because when I look at that Senna patch, you know, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, so they're giving her, you know, access to more crit damage on her hits, and the Lissandra pickup, that was another champion that got buffed. But yeah, that Senna pickup, I'm expecting to see that in the ADC slot more, but no, teams are taking it support, and, you know, I've only seen it played on H-Block so far, but they're making it look pretty good.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing the impacts of patch 11.17 here with both the Senna support pickup and Lissandra having just received a buff. I'm a little surprised to, or rather, I'm not that surprised to see the Lissandra. It's a pick that can operate really similarly to what Malzahar usually does, with that single target lockdown, being able to neutralize one person. And we see Jarvan come in, which has been really popular.
And now Jarvan to me almost feels like a takeaway. Now, obviously, Dax, very, very dominant jungler. Somebody who likes to control the game, likes to go from lane to lane and just get everything snowballing, get everything going. Dax likes to be in control of this BBZ composition. And so it makes sense for him, but also, I like that he's taking away. We were talking about how well that Kai'Sa wants to synergize. Lissandra can also go in. And we know that Senna can just heal those backlines, so maybe they're looking for a good dive composition. Jarvan's so good for telling teams, like, hey, this is our go, this is what we're doing, we're going right now, this is our engage. And taking that away, taking that comfort away from Asworth, and one of the things that they have struggled with in the past is the team coordination. And so maybe taking away that almost loud, consistent voice from the jungle might be what BBZ's looking to do now, but with a couple bans taken away now, the Gnar, the Xin Zhao taking away more engage from that jungle slot. I like that they're focusing a lot of these bans on Red. I think Red still having the Lucian available might be an option for him. There goes a Shen. Let's see what BBZ wants to take next.
Yeah, BBZ's composition is really interesting because the Braum's really good at peeling for the Aphelios, but what Braum really lacks is consistent engage, and the Jarvan pickup really mitigates that weakness as a composition. Ooh. And Rakshan would be a really interesting pick. We'll have to see if this actually goes through. Now, I believe we saw Yubi play it once last week, and it was incredibly dominant.
I think Rex also picked this up on the Friday? No, okay, maybe just looking towards that rise, maybe hovering the action. Are they going to take it?
Yeah.
Oh, getting me way too excited over nothing. But yeah, no, we saw Rex taking that action, being very successful with it. I'm pretty sure Yubi did quite well with it as well. And even more of this 11-17 patch potentially with this Amumu hover.
So if you don't know, in the previous patch, Amumu's bandage toss was changed so that it now works on a charge system, and he can bandage toss twice within a short period of time. And there it is! We're going to see it locked in. Big
Amazing.
AoE lockdown that complements Lissandra's single target lockdown. We noticed that that's sort of what BBZ was trying to take away, and even more AoE engage with Kennen. This Asorth draft is something basically completely new to my eyes.
Yeah, no, and I think that they are trying to do something new. You know, we see champions that haven't been coming up. There's 3 champions that have been recently patched. These are guys that want to get going right now. I love that they're putting together this composition that is going to take them, like, maybe I've questioned how well they're going to be coordinated. This is a team comp that they're going to need to be coordinated with. But if they're successful, it's going to be able to do so much for them. There's so much AoE. And the Irelia lock-in, is that for Jaffe or is that for Red? Of course, we saw the Ryze top lane last game. It's hard to know. But yeah, no, just saying about this Asorth team, I think that they have the ability to deal a lot of damage, but I haven't seen them play this type of teamfight-oriented composition, whereas BBZ, a little bit more of a standard team composition. I like what they've put together.
Yeah, in general, I really like what BBZ's put together as something that's kind of tried and true and favorable to their playstyle, but I'm really excited to see Team Asorth's draft, and I want to believe in the power of the patch, but my gut's telling me that BBZ's going to prevail with this one.
They have the ability, Asorth does, to make that AoE team composition work, but I guess we'll just have to see going into game now which of these comps is going to take it. I think this early game is going to be really important. I think BBZ wants to take control of that right away, ignoring the 5-point going straight bot lane.
We can confirm that Jaffe in the top lane is the one piloting the Irelia, while Red will be taking Ryze mid. So it's sort of what we thought, but there was a little bit of question to that. So yeah, this is a really interesting level 1. A lot of focus on the bottom side, and we'll be curious to see if they can catch it. Here they come!
In, no reaction from Gua yet. Gets the Braum passive down, 2 charges left. There's the stun. Who's the kill going to go over to? Over to Jaffe in that top lane. Immediate pressure from BBZ, and now they're going to punish this lacking 5-point. Just the lack of reaction there from Gua. Doesn't want to get out of there in time, and now they're going to get vision control in this jungle. And this is so good for Jarvan just to know exactly where this Amumu is going to start, because Jarvan is the stronger early game champion. I know that they changed that bandage toss to be really nice for Amumu, but I feel like that giving Jarvan this kind of control early is going to be very scary if you're TAS.
And obviously giving over first blood isn't a good thing, but I think there was another missed opportunity by the remaining Asorth members on the top side of the map. You know that all 5 BBZ members are compiled in your bot lane tri-bush.
Ooh, they're going to take this.
You can send someone over to the enemy red buff and grab vision over there completely safely, and they opt to not use those wards, and BBZ is off to a roaring start.
And I think that BBZ is going to try and continue this early game aggression. The red buff is going to be such a nice ganking tool. And now we see the engage immediately bot lane, but we're going to probably end up seeing TAS walk back forth, try and take this trade onto Tef, who's just going to back up, get this proc, and now here's the level 2 gank from Jarvan. Flash out of Envo, of course, no summoners burnt on that level 1. Kaisa stacking up that Braum passive is going to get stunned up, but overall, you know what? I think they actually traded really well, and when you consider how much regen the Senna's going to give, that's not all that bad, but still buff taken away from the Amumu.
And also notably, the flash and the exhaust taken away from Onbo is also could be important to how the rest of this game plays out, and might make Dax focus more on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, no, and that's probably where you want to be putting that early gold. I think we're going to say that BBZ is going to trust in Jaffe just to get that top lane pressure on his own into that Kennen. Obviously, Irelia loves going into those range matchups. Kennen's by no means an easy champion to play into in that top lane, but Irelia is probably one of the most comfortable champions to play into a range matchup like that. And if you get this Aphelios going off, I know that Tef is going to be able to pilot this to victory, but for right now, well escaped by Gua and Ombo just to get out of that early game gank. And keep the gold lead from bleeding too hard.
Yeah, I honestly think they played that really early skirmish just very well, about as well as you can play it with how much the odds were stacked against you, both in levels and numbers. And if we look across the rest of the map, lanes have been going fairly even. Amumu is clearing at about the same speed that Jarvan is. The difference is that when Amumu gets to his bottom side, he's going to find there's no red buff sitting there waiting for him, and he's going to become even sadder than Amumu already was.
I think that he's already aware of that just because of the way that that level 2 gank played out, just going to go straight to that crab. And it's about whether or not we're going to see the rotation towards that blue side jungle of Dax and try and take away that Gromp. Maybe try and take away those wolves if feeling a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, no, it's a difficult spot. Obviously, Mumu is very vulnerable early. Mumu's real power comes in those team fights. I feel like
pushed up a little far, and
yeah.
Dax is engaged on the top side, meanwhile skirmishing in the bot lane.
Yeah, just getting the damage down. There's the flash burn. Orphic does pick up the kill. We're not quite going to pick up the kill top side. Kiz getting very, very low. But now Tef getting that double stack up on the red. But no, doesn't quite get it. Onvo gets to walk away. Very good trade from those two in the 2v2. There's the heal burnt out of Gua on that Kaisa. Top lane forced to recall, and I love that play on both sides of the map. Now the Amumu's caught out. But is he though? Now, Dax getting the double knockup. Can Red get into position? There's so much damage coming down on the Dax. TP's coming in from both sides. Now Red is rotating on top of the TP of Kiz, but Kiz is just going to get all the damage down onto Dax now. Jaffe off in his own world, trying to chase down the remaining members of TAS, and now he's just going to have to walk back top lane. Has that Scuttle Crab to luckily get him away, but that felt very disorganized from both teams.
Yeah, that was... that was an interesting skirmish. You had teleports from both sides coming in weird positions, and ultimately, Aesword gets advantage of it, but Jaffe's going in on the top side.
Jaffe trying to get this damage out immediately. There's the Conqueror proc. There's so much damage out of Irelia from that passive. K1's just going to have to back off a little bit. Going to take that slow push in now, Jaffe. Having burnt the TP, both those top laners burnt TPs, but there was only one kill, and it went over to the Kennen. This game, very bot-sided, I feel, right now for BBZ, but now again, Jaffe just unrelenting on this pressure.
Yeah, we've seen BBZ go for a lot of pressure, and some of it's worked and some of it's haven't. It's about a 600, 500 gold lead over to BBZ, which isn't anything to write home about, but it is a reward for their aggressive efforts. And it's what we know that both of these teams really want to play towards the early game, and it's BBZ setting the tempo, but Aeswords has been responding pretty well with pretty good plays from their individuals that are mitigating BBZ's aggression and coordination.
And I think that you have to be worried if you're, like, in normal circumstances, you're looking at these two team compositions and you're saying, okay, well, you know, top lane, the Irelia is going to outscale the Kennen. In the jungle, I feel like the Amumu has probably got the advantage there, you know, there's a little bit of difference and all that, but I'd say overall, lane by lane, BBZ is the one with the scaling composition. But when you consider how many of these ultimates and how many of these kits go so well together on the side of TAS, it really starts to mitigate that. If you can get that wombo combo, if you can get that coordination, if you can all go in at the same time, it's kind of one of those Diana Yasuo situations where, yeah, you can be down 12k, but you press 2 buttons and that's the fight done. So I think that there's not really going to be a point where TAS really has to kind of throw up their arms and say, well, now what do we do? Even if this early game control does start to get a little bit out of hand, I say that we see the roam top lane. I believe that is both Dax and Red starting to go into that top side. Yes, the engage now onto the Amumu. Getting that counter game off, the re-engage onto Jaffe, and that is the kill picked up for Red. The Lysandra has finally rotated from his May. I think they're just going to be able to walk away.
Level 6 just isn't able to make it happen. BBZ has more members there, and
they're caught onto Onvo, and that's going to be Onvo going down a second kill over to Orphic. Tef must be getting angry at this point. Orphic just picking up those kills, getting that aggression, but this bot lane, you know, like, you don't want to see, if you're TAS, you don't want to see the Aphelios lane being this successful. He's going to scale so hard into those later stages of the game, and I think this has been really good from both Orphic and Teft to take over this bot lane control. Obviously, Aphelios does have the ability to do this, but you need this Kaisa to scale into the mid game, and right now she's 0-2.
Yeah, things are really not looking good for the bot side for TAS, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do about it, because when you look across the rest of the map, Lysandra, not known for being a high damage mid laner. Amumu amplifies magic damage, but he doesn't put out that much by himself. Kennen can do some, but when it comes to especially your physical damage, this Kai'Sa's your only real option. I mean, Senna's going to do some, but you really it's really a shame to see the Kaisa behind if you're a TAS fan. I'm a little surprised that Dottie hasn't been spending more time in that lane.
Yeah, no, trying to get some control down, and like the vision control has been all right, but you know they've been pushed up. The BBZ, I mean, has been pushed up in that bot lane for pretty much the whole game. That's where all that pressure has come from. That's where those kills have come from so far. And yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm surprised that Dottie hasn't tried to make his way down there on the Amumu, who can gank very effectively, especially with that double stun now with the level 6. Might try to look for something, but maybe just going to clear that top side. I feel like Dax has been so proficient on this map pressure so far.
Yeah, and that's what Jarvan has to do to succeed. So it's not a huge surprise to see that it's going to his favor. We all know that Dax is a great jungler within this league, so he's playing out the pick exactly as it should be playing out. And yeah, as a result, BBZ have a pretty good lead in this early game. It'll be up to TAS to make the comeback with their high impact ultimates.
Yeah, non-stop aggression from Jaffe, finally getting punished by that cannon ulti from K1. Now Jaffe getting put down to basically 1/4 HP and maybe having to back off, have to respect this cannon a little bit. Jaffe's been playing so aggressive on this top side, and there's the Mumu just lurking in the sides, getting ready to take that. Maybe they want to play through top lane a little bit more, but now Kaisa getting ready to get snared up. There's the stun from Braum passive. There's the ultimate burned already from Gua, trying to rotate, but he's only rotating towards Dax as Dax only gets closer. Orphic down with the ultimate. There's the damage from Tep, healing their HP all the way back up. So close onto Ombo. I think they are going to finally pick up this kill onto Ombo. Are they going to continue the dive? I don't think so. They might try and get that wave pushed in, but now Jaffe dealing with a 2v1 topside. I like that Red was down there with the rotation, just getting ready to go for that, and Gua's going to have to give up plates now. There's no way they can try and hold this under tower on their own versus 3 people BBZ.
And I think this just shows how incredible BBZ's coordination is as a team. You see the Amumu top lane on a ward for 1 second, snap decision, bot lane, it's time. And yes, you can argue that the bot lane was from TS was a little too far up, and that's why they were able to capitalize on it. But it's just taking the information that they have and immediately capitalizing it that makes BBZ a really scary team to play against.
Yeah, and they've rotated those fast reactions into a 3k gold lead at 10 minutes. Now that's not nothing. Now Gua getting ulted on, does not have the flash available, and there is a 3rd kill, a killing spree over to Orphic, but the return kill onto Dax, taking him off the map. I believe that it's Red taking Raptors at the moment. We're probably going to see a 1v1 between Red and Hisme now. Hisme looking for that engage, uses the E to get on top of Red, but Red's just going to slowly back off. Does have that phase rush if he needs to. There's the ultimate already burned from Hisme, starting to rotate towards his bot lane, but Hisme's losing this 1v1 as it is. Now you can't run away from the Rise with phase rush. There's flash burned. And just getting caught up with the Senna there. Hisme is going to walk away with Onbo, holding the hand to the recall.
We talked about how Lissandra's not known for her damage in these fights. Skirmishing
and
up,
again, Jaffe just non-stop on the engage, but I think Jaffe might actually take this one. If the Q's up, does go under tower, the double Q and the flash out. Great job by Jaffe to take that 1v1 in the top lane.
That was so well played by Jaffe. Wow. I mean, Aurelia is one of those champions that has a high enough skill cap that can make these really wow plays, but that was really impressive to me because it really looked like for a while that K1ZZ was neutralizing the Aurelia engage. It was actually going to get a kill. It was surprising to see. Looks like
Orphic's back. We're all good.
Yeah. That's good because he has the majority of
they killed on
BBZ's
BBZ.
kills, so it's really important.
Not to mention that godly KP. Nope, there goes Orphic again.
And there's the pause.
Alright, well, hopefully Orphic's internet's doing okay. I imagine that's what our pause is for, just making sure that Orphic can sort out the internet issues. We'll be back in a second, but yeah.
Talking real quick about we just witnessed 2 1v1s happen. So we were talking about how Lissandra doesn't have a lot of damage, and tried to go onto Red. I wonder if it was a miscommunication, because Senna was not yet level 6, and if Senna was level 6, an ultimate there could have secured a kill onto Red, but because that didn't come across, it was really an overextension by Hisme that blows their flash. And meanwhile, in the top side, Jaffe and K1ZZ were just going back and forth, brawling with each other, and ultimately it's Jaffe with the outplay, and looks like gameplay is going to come back.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that might have actually been part of it, is trying to make sure that that Senna was available. And I did not even catch that. You're totally right. If that Senna ultimate was available there, that was absolutely a winnable fight. That would have been Red's flash, if nothing else. Probably could have caught down some CC. Oh, and we have replay bugging out, of course. Wouldn't be any different. But yeah, no, I think that might have been a miscommunication there. Of course, Hisme loses the flash now, and now that is that flash available for Red. That makes this Dragon take all the more available. As we're going to see TAS try to dance around it. We see TP available from both top laners. I think they're both worth getting in here if they want to contest the Dragon on the side of TAS. But it looks like they're just skirmishing up in the top lane. Health bar's going down.
Everybody's here.
There's the smite available from Dax, but already goes down Orphic. There's the shutdown onto the Senna. We started to see Gua come in immediately, and there's 2 kills over to the side of TAS. Great capitalization there on the low health bars from the Dragon, and now we might see that Rift Herald start to make some use.
Yeah, so good on Dax to secure the Dragon. Oh, more fighting
we
in
see
top,
Jappy going in. I don't think he's got the Q available, though. Just trying to keep K1 off the turret. But yeah, no, you're saying.
Yeah, this is a really action-packed game. Yeah, so what I was saying is that we got to finally see some of Team ASOR's team fight potential. They have a lot of really strong ultimates designed for big fights, and Amumu's Curse and Kai'Sa's ability to get in there, Onbo with AoE damage and shielding.
Oh, hold on.
There's a lot that happens, but in the jungle...
He might get caught out, just gonna smite and walk away, but I think that's that blue buff going away. We don't see the rotation from Hisme. And now where do they want to put this pressure? Is it Orphic with that big 3-in-1 score scaring Leku off of the CS?
Oh man, Braum is a big man both in size and his money bags this game. Orphic is piloting this pretty well. I don't know if Tef is happy with the amount of kills that Orphic has this game, but you can't argue with the results.
Can't argue with the results indeed. There's the TP down into the bot lane now. That is from Hisme. We do see Dottie down here as well. Might be just trying to find some way onto this turret. Orphic doesn't actually have a way out here. There's the ulti popped. Tef trying to walk their way over there, try and give Orphic a way to hop. More cooldowns being burnt. Trying to hop to the ward, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that anymore, Orphic. Orphic just gets caught out by Hisme.
Yeah, that was a miscommunication, a slight gap of knowledge maybe, in Orphic's part thinking he could hop to the ward, telling Tef to not waste their time going over there, and ultimately it costs Orphic his life. And it's hard to say whether that was a miscommunication with how Braum W worked, or if that was them deciding that bringing Tef over just complicates things and is likely to result in Tef getting killed. But either way, Orphic goes down, and so does the bot lane tower.
Yeah, kill picked up, turret goes over. Good use of that Rift Herald. Unfortunately, they did just miss the 1 plate on the 14-minute mark, but it's okay. As that is a lot of gold going over. We are starting to see TAS start to even this up in this mid game. Around when you'd see this team start to get prevalent, you know, the Jarvan's still effective. You're kind of in that hole for damage as the Ryze goes right now. Ryze isn't really putting out as much as you'd want to. There's so much more efficiency from that Lissandra right now. There's just been a couple of picks right now. I think it's been vision control partially, but just better positioning so far from TAS is starting to claw back this gold lead. And if it gets placed like well on the side of TAS, this is basically even.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see both teams' compositions come together and show what they want to do in this game, and it's just going to be really exciting because unlike the last game, which was a bit of a one-sided stomp, in this game both teams are able to execute on their plans on some level, which is always what you want to see for an interesting game of League of Legends.
Yeah, no, and we're about to see these mythics start to get finished up. We've got Dragon spawning in a minute 30, just about minute 45. I think that we could actually have quite an explosive fight that starts to dictate the way that this game goes. Obviously, 2 soul points on those Dragons over to BBZ in this early game. I think if there's a third one going over there, that could be a big deal. If we start to see these Infernals swing into the hand of TAS, that could also be a big deal. But I think right now these teams probably going to try and neutralize, try and get some CS in, get those items finished before that 1 minute 30 mark. And we could see a very explosive team fight then, or we could see them going ahead of time as Jaffe starts to get this fight in the top side.
Yeah, I think something that's important to note, something that's important to note is this top lane brawling. But aside from that, something that's important to note is that every single spell for both sides is going to be up for this Dragon, except for Lissandra's teleport. So that's why you see Lissandra in the bottom side, because that way she's really close to the Dragon, because Hisme doesn't have teleport up right now. But aside from that, it can be really explosive.
I'm worried about Tef not maybe having that flash up available, but Red going in under turret. That's a very dangerous place to be against Lissandra. Also, Dax going in on this mid lane onto Onbo, doesn't get the kill, or doesn't get the EQ pickup, but now they engage onto Dax. Dax actually turning that fight. No engage there from Dottie, whether that was the call on the rotate from Jaffe or what. But we see the Braum ulti popped. We were saying that there might be a fight before this Dragon spawns. There goes the engage onto Dottie under turret. There's the the Moonlight Visual, getting the pick up, but no, Onvo, the one who gets the pick onto Dax, and now Jaffy taking a fight on the side, getting the engage onto this Kennen, ultimate not burned on either of them, and now Tef potentially in a situation where Kiz is going to find this engage with the flash ultimate. There's the engage onto Tef as they go down, Gua getting another pickup, and that could be the Dragon available for TAS. We were talking about they might take this fight just a little bit ahead of time. Jaffy may be trying to find a way to swing this one back, but no, it's 5v3. You don't want to take this BBZ. There's low health bars on the side of TAS, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we just saw BBZ get a little too ahead of themselves there. I think really early on in that fight, they were skirmishing really well and catching people out on rotations and getting free damage, but BBZ thought that they could turn that into a successful fight, and ultimately it results in Dax going down, it results in Tef dying, and it results in TAS getting complete Dragon control and likely the Dragon himself.
Now, does Jaffy want to try and take this 1v5 for the Dragon? I don't think it's going to happen. Dax has returned, but that is the Dragon going down. Now, that is one Dragon over to the side of TAS, but this has basically evened up the gold lead at this point, which is a big deal considering how snowbally the first 10 or so minutes of this game felt on the side of BBZ for TAS to really claw this one back. Their coordination on these team fights and these mid-game skirmishes have been really good.
Ultimately, the reason why I think it was a little early for BBZ to go in is something that you mentioned earlier. Tef's flash was really close to coming up, but not quite up yet. I think it would have been up in time for a fight at the actual Dragon, but because they got ahead of themselves and Dax engaged ahead of time, Tef didn't have that really important summoner spell to reposition when K1ZZ flashes in and the slicing maelstrom goes over the top. Can't get out of it. I mean, the cleanse gets burned, but it's not enough. And as a result, that's why it was too early for BBZ to really have a chance in that fight.
And Gua was just able to jump on top. I think on top of that, we hadn't seen those recalls yet. I was saying that, you know, maybe we'll see these recalls going into the Dragon. There's a lot of items that are still yet to be finished up, and Aphelios really wants those item finishes. And again, it's not necessarily that it was a bad fight. It was just a little bit too early for them to take it, and they got caught under turret. They lost a member, and then there's the fight swinging back. We see 7-7 now, basically no gold difference.
We're going to see some interesting wardplay with Dottie trying to immediately re-establish the control ward, and that was a little too early.
And then just the root just going down onto K1. K1 getting very low. This Tef's going to finish off that kill. Now Dottie's in the backline. Now Tef has just got to split himself between two different fights on this Aphelios, and now we see the TP coming in. I believe that is from Jaffy coming in onto this backline. Now his mate going very low. There's a double kill onto Tef. There's the engage from Jaffy. Great stun across the entirety of TAS, and we were worried about them taking fights at the right time. Well, that one was worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was a great time because everyone on the side of TAS was not together, not coordinated. And if you watch these critical AoE abilities go down in the fight, you're going to watch an Amumu ult that only hits 2 people, a Kennen slicing Maelstrom that I think only hits 1. Kai'Sa has to ult over to finish 1 kill. And as a result, the strength of the comp is mitigated. So here we're going to see Kennen ult hits only Braum, Amumu ult hits only 2, and this is the big strength of the comp, right? Lissandra's alone fighting 1v2, and even though with a 3v2 on the bottom side of the screen being able to pick up kills for TAS, it goes really bad when Jaffy arrives and just slices and dices through everyone remaining on the side of TAS.
Honestly, this Irelia play has been so cutthroat so far, like just playing very, very well, and it's interesting. I'm interested to see what BBZ wants to do with this team fight that they've just gotten, maybe pressure down this mid turret. But yeah, no, I think you're right. They were burning these ultimates. They were worried about it, like not getting. Maybe worried about getting a pick immediately, trying to get that 4v5 scenario where, you know, it's kind of okay to burn those cooldowns early if you can get yourself a numbers advantage, but they didn't get it. And you were saying Gua had to go so deep to get that first kill onto Orphic, who'd already used all of their abilities. Everything was already available, or everything was offline, and Orphic had basically done their job at that point. And then yeah, no, just there's nothing left on the side of TAS at that point. They've used all their ultis, that's what they're there for, and they've hit almost no one with them. The Kennen ulti getting burned so early, and then we see this gold lead swing back to the side of BBZ.
TAS, this is a composition that really wants to fight in a group. We're going to see BBZ excel in the fights where they can split up these members. I think Asorth needs to be a little more conservative with their ultimate usage, specifically K1ZZ's ultimate usage that starts the whole fight. Doesn't actually get a stun onto anyone, so it's sort of a wasted ultimate. It does get a little bit of damage onto Braum, but it's really not what you want this big impact ultimate to do. And unless you're in the middle of everybody, I think you need to give engage service over to Dottie to really start these fights in order to not have that ability go without being used the best it can be.
I think the problem that they got there was they were just caught too deep. This is the problem where if you're trying to go for that deep flank, it's not exactly the deepest flank in the world, but the Lissandra getting in behind the team. If this engage goes awry, well, now the Liss is out of position. Now Liss has to try and get out of there. Obviously, a slippery champion Liss, but you don't ever want to be caught in that position. So I feel like almost TAS felt like they were forced to go for that fight, even though it didn't work out initially the way that they wanted to, and it just kept, as BBZ reacted to the situation, just kept getting worse and worse for them. And now we see the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah, so we're actually going to see Dottie go in on Jaffe here.
Yeah, Jaffe starting this engage off, just trying to get the disengage from the two people. Didn't realize that was going to be a 2v1 that Jaffe was taking. But, the BBZ was there for the rotation. I feel like the Realm Warp was used to try and cover for that.
As was the Aurelia ultimate move as well. So TAS, I think, ultimately comes out ahead of that exchange. Even though it's their engage that gets nullified, it burns a couple really important cooldowns from BBZ, and I think ASORS should look for a fight here, potentially in the mid lane where everybody is.
Yeah, no, they definitely have the window to do it. It's whether or not they're going to be able to capitalize on it. Obviously, Dragon spawning in 32 seconds. I don't know which ultimates are going to be available. I don't feel like the Aurelia will necessarily have her ulti up at that point. Jaffe might have to try and create some pressure in a different way, but honestly, the Aurelia has been so good on these engages so far. But all of these ultimates, like we were saying, TAS wants to play around these ultimate cooldowns, and they have all of them. 14 seconds till this dragon spawns. It's about how they're positioning right now. Dax finds a catch onto Ismay. He's able to throw that ulti out if he needs to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Hismi knows that Jarvan's flag gives vision, but just stands on it and gets engaged upon, which actually gives BBZ initial control of the Dragon Pit. But so they're going to have to push in from the side if TAS wants to get a look at this objective. Neither team willing to start it up quite yet.
Oh, we see this rotation coming along the side now. It looks like Dottie wants to try and find this flank now. The Dragon finally started up, and it is starting to get burned down quickly between the Ryze and the Aphelios DPS. Dottie on the sideline actually does get in there for the smite. First smite goes down over to Orphic, taking everything this game. Now we have two fights split up. Jaffe taking his own fight on the backside. Does actually manage to pick up a kill, but now there's 3 kills picked up for the side of BBZ, and now this re-engage on to just 2 left, just the bot lane of TAS remaining. Gua goes down, and I don't think Ombo's going to have too far to run now with Dax, the man with the mission. Surely going to pick up this kill soon. No, does get the flag drag on. Great Q there from Tef. Picks up the kill. And yeah, no, Jaffe, I like the aggro tanking there, taking the fight into 2 pieces and manages to go 1 for 1, which is all you need as that aggro tank, as that position. And this is just more gold in the BBZ's pocket. Obviously, great smite from Orphic to pick up that 25 or so HP dragon. And that's really crucial. Puts them onto Soul Point. Make sure that they can have that pressure in 5 minutes. Make sure that they can have that pressure right now. And this is just a good gold swing going over to BBZ.
Jaffe created so much space that fight, you could call it the Grand Canyon. TAS goes in with their big AoE ultimates, and the Kennen and the Amumu and the Lissandra are all layering these abilities, but it doesn't matter. The damage follow-up are on these 2 marksmen that can't get to the fight because Jaffe is fighting them 1v2 without his ultimate. It's like, okay, so now how do you have to approach these fights knowing that Jaffe, at a point where Jaffe's probably going to be the weakest that he'll be all game, is just able to get on top of both of the marksmen and completely neutralize their ability in that fight.
Yeah, no, and that's really concerning. Something you really want to take these engages as front to back as you can. You don't want to let that Irelia get through. And it's easier for Irelia to go through your team if she has her ultimate up, but it was not even needed there from Jaffe. The flash is still available. The ultimate wasn't even there. And Jaffe still gets on that backline, still disrupts that fight. Aggro Tanks gets almost a 3v1, I think. Gets the single kill out of it, and then that fight turns. And I think that's actually so much pressure that Jaffe's been able to create on this Irelia so far. It's been really impressive to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really interesting game because both of these teams have to get really scrappy with how these fights work in order to achieve what they're trying to achieve. And right now, BBZ with an advantage with 3 Drakes is just doing it better. And I think a lot of it is Dax's consistent engage with Jarvan, but also Jaffe is playing this Aurelia to its max.
Oh, and there goes Orphic again. I'm sure there will be a quick reconnect. No, there's the pause. But yeah, no, let's just look at this TAS composition so far. So we were worried about, they have to play around these ultimates. But is there anything that they can do to shut down Jaffe on this initial engage? I'm not sure. Maybe they should be saving the Lissandra ulti for that. But they haven't been able to actually get this wombo combo teamfight since I think the second or so dragon. Yeah, I believe the second dragon was taken and then they got the engage. But that's what I think you have to be looking at. It's just maybe playing around that more. We saw the Amumu on the side. We're saying that we want Mumu to be on that initial engage. If you're playing as TAS with this composition, probably want Mumu to be the initial, get that stun down, get the cannon layered on top of it, get the Senna layered on top of that, and just keep it going. That wasn't able to happen. Obviously, Jaffe coming over from bot side. I imagine with the blast cone, I didn't quite catch it. Might just walk through the team.
Yeah, there might have been some potential for Gua to actually get with the main team using Kai'Sa's ultimate, but the Aurelia is just on top of you and really scary. So I understand that it's in the moment, it's really hard to understand what's going on more than a screen length away. But I think optimally, Gua would have been able to use Kai'Sa's ultimate to get off of the Aurelia, or get the Aurelia off of him, and get into the fight, and I think Kai'Sa would have been able to do a lot more damage in that situation.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what really needs to change for TAS in these fights to give them a chance.
Well, I think that where they might be getting caught is that they've, like I said, saw the Amumu on the side. Amumu should be making that initial engage, but maybe the champions that we should be seeing Amumu in the front. Maybe the champions on the side need to be those marksmen. Senna obviously being very effective from long distance. Kai'Sa being able to get into a fight from any distance. I feel like they want to separate their backliners more from this fight. Let those frontliners get that engage, because Senna obviously can catch up. She has the movement speed, she has the range, and Kai'Sa can just dive in there. Maybe separating these fights a little bit will give them a little bit more leeway to make sure that this Jarvan doesn't get on top of them, to make sure that Orphic can't get this ulti down to break their team off, to make sure that Jaffe can't dash through everybody, and make them focus on those initial three. And if they can create a clump, that's when their ultimates work the best.
And scenarios that are this complicated is why we love League of Legends.
Yeah.
We can go back and forth theorizing about how these two rosters of 5 champions just go at it with all these different abilities interacting. This game has been really exciting. Even I think it's safe to say that BBZ has been ahead the entire time, but ASWORD has been fighting back, fight in, fight out, and making it close, making BBZ sweat to get this win.
And I think that's the thing with this. The thing with this composition is that even though there's a 6k gold difference right now, very clean 6k gold difference, that doesn't necessarily feel like enough to take them out of it. So, most conventional, if you're looking at a team fight comp versus team fight comp, they both scale. Whatever the situation is, 6k is usually lethal, especially when there's the 3 dragons over to the side of BBZ. But just because of the way that this composition works for TAS, it doesn't feel impossible. It feels like they can find a way back in. They can get their damage down, they can get whatever it might be, get those ultimates all on top of each other, maybe just find a pick and then get an objective. It always feels like they can do that because of how much lockdown they have, how much engage they have, and just about how well they can play it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah. So we're in a bit of a lull.
So apparently we're just on a router restart right now, waiting on Orphic, obviously still dealing with these internet issues. Let's talk about Orphic actually this game. So even though been dealing with router issues, it seems. 3-3-8 on this Braum. A lot of kills in that early game, gotten that dragon. Actually been really solid in these team fights. We were saying always gets all the abilities off, always is able to disrupt these team fights. That's what Braum wants to do. Create a layer in between the front line and the back line, even if Braum can't necessarily aggro tank, which he can, obviously with that big E. But just create kind of a disengaged layer to give the backline of BBZ, of that Rise, of that Ophelia, some room to walk up safely, walk back safely, make sure that they're not going to get immediately jumped on if they go within, a certain amount of range of the TAS composition. I think he's actually done a really good job right now, and if he's also doing that through lag, props to him.
Yeah. Braum's Unbreakable Shield is giving Tef so much room to work with in these fights, and Tef is just doing so much damage. We see Orphic's reconnected to the game, so hopefully we'll see play resume really soon. I don't know what skin Orphic is actually playing, but he should be playing Dragon Slayer because clearly he's really adept at it.
Yeah, able to pick up that dragon, and that was important too. Like I said, giving them soul point. Now they have the macro position for this. Obviously, they already have the turrets. They can already press in, especially into that red side jungle of TAS. But that red side jungle is where it's really important because now we have the pressure of Dragon Soul on the side of BBZ. Now we have all this map available, and it's going to make it even harder for TAS because I feel like if they lose that Infernal Soul, obviously they've got 2 minutes 25 seconds on the in-game clock. We don't know how long it's going to actually end up being. But if they lose that Dragon Soul, that could be devastating.
Yeah. If we look across on the scoreboard down to the bottom on each side, BBZ has a commanding lead in gold at every single position across the board. And now we're back. So if TAS is going to get into this game, it's going to be their coordination that seals it.
Yeah, and that's what they absolutely have to try and rely on. We've said it time in, time out. Really hoping that they'll be able to pull some stuff from it. Best case scenario, they can get some of these ultis down. They can start to make a claw back into BBZ. But BBZ's just been so good on the decision making so far. We've seen it through this game. We've seen it from them in the past. Their decision making is one of their strongest suits, and it's safe to say that if we want to give one of these teams the ability to coordinate, regardless of gold, regardless of anything, if we're going to say one of these teams is going to coordinate, one of these teams is going to be on the ball when it comes to decision making, their positioning, all this type of stuff, it's going to be BBZ. I say that. Red gets completely caught out on the bot side of the map. See if there's any kind of engage on the top side. See how this one worked out.
Yeah, so we see that Asorth has identified that the Rise is a little too far away. Lysandra gets right on top of him, and there's no way that he can Realm Warp out, especially with the Senna ultimate going over the top. But meanwhile, there's another fight going on.
Yeah, we see the rotation onto the top side of the map. I imagine Dax just trying to get the fight away from that turret, let Tef and Orphic break down that tower. And the tower trade, obviously not great for the Rise, but I don't think the Rise had a shutdown. If it wasn't a big one. It's just on that CS. And I feel like tower back is good. They know they have people on the bot side of the map. Now it's time to do Baron.
Yeah, so even though, in terms of kills, BBZ's the one that loses a member, it's their positioning and the fact that they are positioned around the important objective that has given them this initial control. Kennen wants to get in there.
Find this engage. There's the Slicing Maelstrom down. There's the smite down from Dax. The confidence now is the Sonya's going to buy enough time. There's the Irelia ulti. K1 already goes down. Now there's the re-engage. 4 versus 4. There's the Kennen ulti. Here comes Hisme onto everyone. Doesn't use the ulti just yet. Tef trying to get the ulti down. It was in front of him, so doesn't have those crescendo stacks necessarily. But there goes Hisme. There's still 3 people left. Now there's 2, but it's Jaffe left in this 2v1 scenario. Red trying to make his way back, but he is there.
Yeah, it was really crucial that Red had teleport there to get into the fight and make the deciding blow and how that goes. So Red didn't respawn in time to get the Baron buff, but Jaffe still has it. So in terms of the objective, BBZ did secure it. They are going to be able to use it on one member, and Jaffe is a really relevant side lane threat, and so is the Rise, and the rest of the members kind of want to go as 3. Having the additional lane pressure should be massive in terms of the gold swing for BBZ.
We're definitely going to see, or surely we're going to see Jaffe take down this top lane turret. I don't think Red's going to find anything in that top side, but we see 20 seconds until that dragon spawns. Jaffe has that teleport available. Red going to walk through the jungle, get there with the team, get ready to set up for this dragon. And we were saying how devastating this soul point can be. Obviously, they still have the 1 Baron buff on Jaffe, but if we see that with the Infernal Soul, it's going to be so challenging. But 6k gold behind, that fight was still close. That fight was not the numbers that they necessarily wanted on the side of TAS, but they still saw the availability. Kind of worried about Hisme taking that claw to go in, but now K1 on the side with flash up, with ult up. We see all these cooldowns available except for the Curse of the Sad Mummy. That's an important CD that is not currently available for TAS, and we see Jaffe still pushing in that top lane. Teleport still available. They're going to want to try and find some way to find this fight 4v5. They have to know that they can engage on this right now, and they do see Onbo, the one deciding to go aggressive, getting onto this dragon now. Dragon's starting to get brought very low. We see Dax going in, does take that smite, and now we might see the disengage from BBZ. A huge ultimate onto the back line, and this fight immediately falls apart. Jaffe trying to TP a triple kill over to Tef. Is that a quadra? Amazing ulti onto 4 with the Infernum, and that fight just immediately gets wiped. We were worried about the Infernum. We'll layer a Dragon Soul on top of that, even more AoE damage, and TAS goes bye-bye.
All right, time to say the line. 200 years of gameplay design into this Aphelios. Fires off an Infernum ultimate, and everybody on the side of TAS explodes instantly. Any chance that they had of winning this game went out that window as soon as Tef made that deciding blow. BBZ is going to wrap this one up, no problem.
You know, we've seen some highlight plays from everybody on BBZ this game. There's been some big moments from all of them. Red getting there in time, just some beautiful execution from Jaffe. But that one is the shining star of the show. What an ultimate from Tef. Dealing so much damage. It's one of those times where you really wish you could see that 11k damage that did or something. But great stuff over to Tef to land that final ultimate, and great job to BBZ. Very good hold, honestly. We saw how close those late game fights were from TAS, but BBZ just being more decisive, like we were saying, being more on top of their game, knowing what they want to do, and this is a big pickup for them.
I think this game is so much more exciting than any scoreboard of the game could possibly tell you because of how close these fights were, because TAS was able to get in there and scrap with BBZ. Ultimately, BBZ's coordination was able to let the Cephalios do so much work, and ultimately, Tef's play is what allowed BBZ to take the win over a really scrappy Team Acer.
Great job to the number of, 50-50 smite fights that we saw in that situation. They all went to Dax. Dax was on top of every single one. Well, except, okay, Orphic was on top of one of them, but BBZ was on top of all of the smite fights. Really good job for them. They had great execution in this game. I think they fixed a lot of their problems that we saw from them last week, and they're just playing a lot better. A phenomenal job to BBZ. We're going to be going straight over to an interview with BBZ. Don't go anywhere.
Hello everyone, Chris Edgeworth here for our second interview of the night. I am joined by Tef, the bot laner from Victoria's Blue Bayou. Welcome, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Won that game. Got to play Aphelios. I like that champion. He's pretty fun. He also gets to, press the R button and look really cool.
Yeah, that's a great thing about League of Legends, that there's so many R's or ultimates rather, where the R is just like you just talk about the skill button, and it's just it can mean so many things with so many different champions, and we'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to just start off, set the table for this matchup. What were your thoughts on the draft that you folks put together on your side? Obviously, you were on the Aphelios. Jaffe got to have some fun in the top lane with the Irelia, and you're matching up against the reworked Amumu and the double ADC bot lane. What was the thoughts on your draft and what you're up against?
So like the bot lane matchup was like really strange. I don't think that like Senna and Kai'Sa can like go together almost at all. Especially with the most recent changes. I think if you're picking Senna, you should, just put her like as the main carry, the main farming carry. And plus like there's not a lot of DC in that lane, so it can be like kind of safe, but overall when I think of like really strong lanes or like lanes that are like hard to match up into, there's no Kai'Sa Senna on that list at all. And then yeah, like you said, we got to pick Aurelia. Jaffe's really comfortable on Aurelia. I think he played really well this game, and like we got to pick what we wanted really, and like I guess you could say they got to pick what they wanted too. Like their whole comp just like revolves around killing me. They have like so many, like their whole comp is just follow up, engage with just pure damage or just more CC on top of me. So I mean, cleanse was really helpful. I bought QSS at the end, but actually didn't get to use it. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about actually how this game went. It on the scoreboard, it looked a lot closer for a while than it actually must have felt playing in the game. Talk to me a little bit about, at the end here, you did get to hit that skill button as we were talking about a moment ago, getting the nice Quadra, the big, juicy Moonlight Vigil. But how did we get to that point in the game? What was it like playing out Aphelios in this matchup? And talk to us about that play.
I mean, we got a really huge lead bot lane, and we like messed it up a little bit. I think there's we can definitely go back and watch it and just like talk about how at different points in time we like could have pressed our advantage better or played smarter around enemy teams' timings. But like I always felt like I was really not necessarily like 100% in control of the game, but like the game like kind of revolved around me. Like if they killed me in a team fight, it would be up to like Red or Jaffe, which I'm not saying that they like weren't in a position to carry. They definitely like had a lot of like damage built into their kits for these fights, but like as long as I live through like their whole just press R comp, like there's pretty much no way that they end up winning any of these fights. And so I just had to focus a lot on positioning, timing my cleanse, playing around my like own like cooldowns, so like ultimate, which guns I had, and then yeah, at the end of the game, like my jungler walked up and smited dragon, gave me Infernal Soul. My Braum ulted and like knocked like 3 people up into the air. So I mean, I just got to hit the R button, and apparently it did a lot of damage and killed a lot of people. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
That's, for me, I know a few people that have played Aphelios or play regularly enough, and it is one of those things where sometimes it just seems entirely arbitrary how much damage that comes out. You're like, this will do a lot of damage, and then you hit them, and you're like, it did way more than I expected, but sure.
True. Like I threw the ultimate out. I like was pretty confident that it was gonna at least half health everyone but then it like legit just like killed like 2 or 3 people. So it was pretty funny. I mean, also I was like super strong. I had shield bow, LDR completed at this point. Like
Yeah.
I had like so much damage just already that it's not too surprising, especially with Infernal Soul, in my opinion.
Oh, true. Yeah, you're already at full Aphelios Nightmare mode, but I was just remarking, it always seems to surprise you, even when you're expecting it to do a bunch of like, wow,
True.
it's a lot. So with that, let's ask. Looking forward, how are you feeling about BBZ's prospects after 3 games through here? You did have the first drop against UB, but you've now had a chance to bounce back yourself, as well as see some of the competition around you. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I think that if we're playing, like if everyone on my team is like playing at their peak and we're all playing, together, we can beat pretty much any team. I think in this league, the hardest one, of course, is gonna be UB, and I'm not gonna like say that we're 100% gonna beat UB the next time we play them or in playoffs or whatever. But I think that the first game just was us not showing up and us not playing well. So I'm excited to play them again. They're the team that I actually want to play against the most now. And other than that, like, there's not too many other teams that I look at and I'm like super scared of. The only other team that like really like kind of like worries me maybe if we were to play against them is H Block. I think that like H Block has shown pretty dominant gameplay over some of like the lower end teams in the league, which is always like good to see, and pretty indicative of like a strong like team when it comes down to like team play and individual skill. We haven't scrimmed them yet, so I have no idea how they're gonna play, but I'm also excited to play them. It's UB and H Block at this point that I'm excited to play most.
Right on. Do you have more to say? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that like I'm just waiting for COF to actually get to play a game.
No, dude, they're actually just hiding their true skill until playoffs. It's actually just a turbo strategy.
True. I mean, they are 2-1, so is BBC, so they are exactly good as us.
Yeah, dude, five head maneuver, man. Just get the other teams to FF.
Or you to FF.
There you go. All right, man. Tef, thanks so much for this interview. Congratulations to Blue Bayou Zoo. And before we step away to our intermission, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us?
I'm sorry, Orphic. I should have walked up and given you a Brom W. You had Aftershock, and I didn't expect you to live so long. I'm sorry.
Right on. Way to make amends out here publicly. Appreciate that. Tef, thanks so much for this interview. Folks, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with our final game of the evening, so don't go away.